One person has been charged with fraud after a Calgary Police Service investigation. In late 2012, the CPS Auto Theft Unit was approached by members of the public who reported that they had been solicited by an auto body shop employee. The allegation was the man offered to ship vehicles that had been damaged in collisions to another country, allowing the owner to report the vehicle stolen and make a fraudulent insurance claim. Using a variety of investigative techniques, a man was accused of making arrangements to have a vehicle shipped to Africa in a shipping container. Members of the CPS were able to intercept that vehicle prior to it being shipped. As a result, Santiago Guifarro, 44 years of age, of Calgary, has been charged with 1 count each of fraud over $5,000 and counseling an indictable offense. This investigation is ongoing, and anyone with information is asked to call Crime Stoppers anonymously.
Do you know if this guy actually managed to ship any vehicles overseas?
The investigation is still ongoing in that regard. We were able to intercept this vehicle before it was shipped. But certainly, we're aware that this is a method used to get vehicles offshore. But specific to this individual, the investigation's ongoing in that regard.
Is this an unusual case? I mean, have you seen this kind of crime before? People trying to ship damaged vehicles?
With respect to damaged vehicles, there is a lot of that occurring, and I have to make it clear that that's not necessarily an offense. Where the offense enters into it is where the individual is looking to get out from underneath car payment and or making a fraudulent insurance claim. So there are a number of individuals in Calgary and other cities that legitimately purchase salvage vehicles at auction, make arrangements to put these vehicles into a shipping container and get them to associates in another country where they can be dismantled for parts or used for transportation once they arrive there. So where the offenses come in is where they're trying to conceal a vehicle or commit some sort of fraud in that regard.
So it wasn't actually him, like his crime was more counseling the other person?
Yes, he approached this individual and indicated that if the cost of the repair or the car loan payments were onerous, he could make that vehicle disappear and allow the individual to make an insurance claim. So that would satisfy the car loan, and for that he would receive a fee for his involvement in the scheme.
Sorry, can you tell us why it took so long? I'm just curious, if you were first alerted about this in 2012, here we are on the third day of 2014, and we're just finding out about it. Why so lengthy of an investigation?
That's a fair question. Basically, an issue of resourcing and some of the things that needed to be in place for the investigation to line up and be successfully concluded.
So could some of these owners of the vehicles be charged too, if they were involved in, if they're the ones who wanted to make a false claim or right?
Certainly, if you're a party to the offense and you enter into an agreement with an individual that has illegal elements to it, you could be charged as a party to the offense or with the actual offense of fraud, fraudulent concealment, those sorts of things. So if you agree and say, my car loan is causing me a lot of financial hardship, please make this go away, and I'll claim it through my insurance company, and I'll give you a fee for doing that. Then those two parties involved in that conspiracy could both be charged.
But he's been charged in this case because he was the one making the arrangements again?
That's correct, yes.
Can you tell us what body shop it was for?
Because the investigation's ongoing and there's other parties involved, I'm not at liberty to mention that. What I can say, if people are concerned about this sort of thing happening, there's certainly resources where you can background a potential mechanical shop or auto body shop, Better Business Bureau, AMVIC, which is the Alberta Motor Vehicle Industry Council. They can potentially identify red flags around a mechanical or auto body shop. And if you are going through an accredited shop, there are avenues of recourse if you're not satisfied with the work that's done.
Are you expecting to lay charges against more
Again, the investigation's ongoing. There may be other parties that we'll need to speak with, and further charges could be laid, yes.
The vehicle you intercepted, was it a bait vehicle?
We do have a bait vehicle fleet within the Calgary Police Service, funded by the Insurance Bureau of Canada. In this instance, it was not a bait vehicle.
Did you guys actually find it in the container ready to go, or how did you intercept it exactly?
We employed some technological resources that I'm not at liberty to discuss, but we were able to intercept the vehicle prior to it being shipped. Typically, these containers will go to a port where they're loaded onto a freighter. So what we see most often is these sea cans go by rail or transport truck to Vancouver. They're loaded onto ships and then transited from there. Montreal's another common port.
How did you find out, like you said, it's not really an offense to ship a damaged vehicle, but it's an offense to do so in getting out of your loan or whatever. How did you guys know it was an offense in this case? How did you know that someone was trying to get out of the loan? Was it members of the public who tipped you off?
Well, as I indicated, we were approached by members of the public in late 2012 that had been approached by this individual and presented with this exact scenario. So the auto theft unit decided to test the veracity of their claims and entered into the investigation that confirmed the information that they had provided to us in that regard.
So was there a fraudulent insurance claim involved with this transaction then?
No, that didn't come to fruition. There wasn't the opportunity for a fraudulent insurance claim.
Or the one that you intercepted?
Yes, that's correct.
So you don't think any of them did end up getting shipped?
This particular vehicle we intercepted, certainly there are, around 9% of the vehicles stolen that we typically never recover. So our investigative theory in that regard is that these vehicles, this is one of the methods that is used to get them off the continent, and they're never seen again. So.
But sorry, I think someone asked too, that he never actually was successful in shipping any. A lot of the members of the public said they were offered to be shipped, but this guy never actually was successful at something?
So we had members of the public approach us and say this was the scenario that was offered to us. We didn't think it was right, so we didn't go through it. So in that case, those vehicles the offense wasn't carried out. Those vehicles didn't get loaded into shipping containers. In this case, today, we intercepted that vehicle before it left for shipping. So to answer your question, in this context, no vehicles left Calgary to be shipped to Africa.
Like, I know you don't know your investigative techniques, but is it fair to say an undercover operation then?
Again, I'm not at liberty to discuss.
Like, I think we're just trying to get at, was it a real person that almost did this, or was it a police operation? You know what I mean?
Fair enough. Again, it's before the courts. Disclosure hasn't gone out yet, so I can't really share a lot of that with you.
Can we call it a police sting?
Let's go with police sting. That would be fair. I mean, we do employ various investigative methods. The auto theft unit works with AMVIC, city licensing, Alberta Transport, and we do attend shops.
These numbers that were released today regarding stolen vehicles.
Yes.
Do you feel like it's a no-win situation that these numbers just keep creeping up higher and higher every year?
Well, and to answer your question, to look at these numbers, it seems significant, and it's an ongoing problem that we try and minimize. But if you look at the 20-year trend for stolen vehicles, we've seen a significant decrease over that 20-year trend. I can't speak to specific numbers, but in the early 90s, we were seeing numbers approaching 8,000 vehicles a year being stolen in Calgary. As you can see here, we're sitting at 3,600 vehicles. So that 8,000 number in early 1990s, coupled with the growth of the city and the reduction to around 3,700 vehicles in 2013, it's a decreasing trend. Auto theft investigators attribute that to technology. The auto manufacturers are improving the technology that's put into vehicles, making them harder to steal. We still maintain our top 10 stolen vehicles list, as an education piece for the public to realize, what's prone to being stolen. But as an auto theft investigator, I do, take some satisfaction over the 20-year trend that the number of stolen vehicles is decreasing. And on a per capita basis, I think we're in a much better place than we were 15 or 20 years ago.
Is there something to be said about the fact that Ford trucks are nearly triple every other second place venture?
It's certainly it's a concern. Those vehicles we're finding are very attractive to criminals for a number of different reasons. Obviously they're attractive in that they're relatively easy to steal compared to other similar vehicles. And unfortunately, these vehicles are used to commit other offenses, robberies, commercial break-ins. They're used to bait uniformed members into pursuit scenarios. So it is a concern. And there are bodies that lobby the automakers to try and improve the technology and make the vehicles harder to steal. Certainly, Insurance Bureau of Canada has a significant interest in making it harder to steal vehicles. To pick on Ford and say they need to do a better job may or may not be fair, and that's not my place to do that. That's consumer advocacy and stakeholders that pay the insurance claims and deal with the outfall from those vehicles.
So, I know in past years we've talked about it being a lot of those stolen vehicles being crimes of opportunity where those are a lot back. Is that still?
Thank you. Yeah, excellent question. Around 40% of the vehicles that we see stolen in Calgary are stolen because they're left running to warm up in front of a residence, or someone nips into the convenience store for some items that they require. So crime of opportunity, absolutely, and that's very preventable. As an auto theft investigator, it really annoys me to see that happen, because it's so preventable to avoid your vehicle being stolen. The other thing that we see is a lot of people, again, along the convenience road, is they'll leave a key in the vehicle for whatever reason, whether it's in the center console or the dashboard or under a floor mat. And in that scenario, you take what was a car prowling and a broken window and some loose change to a stolen vehicle. So the broken window is inconvenient in itself. Once the car goes down the road, there's the danger to the public that goes along with it, and the increased loss of property to the owner. If that vehicle hadn't had the key in it, it would have been would not have been stolen. It would have been just a car prowling.
How does Calgary stack up to other major municipalities in Canada regarding stolen autos?
I don't have those stats on a comparison basis. We just compiled these yesterday for 2013, so that's something I could get out, early next week. But I'm not able to. Certainly, Winnipeg's always had difficulties, and they've put some great programs in place through insurance partners to reduce their numbers. But I think that all of the major cities nationally would see numbers like these. Certainly the top 10 stolen vehicles, if you go to the Insurance Bureau of Canada's website, you'll see probably 7 out of 10 of the vehicles that appear on our Calgary list will appear on the lists that other agencies compile nationally, as well as in the U.S.
You guys have recovered more vehicles this year than, 2013 versus 2012.
That's correct.
Did you credit that to anything in particular, or?
I think we have done an education piece with the frontline officers in 2013, where the auto theft investigators would go out and give the frontline officers some education around how to recognize vehicles that may have been altered or stolen. So that I attribute that to just sharp eyes and good patrol work, and members looking for vehicles, aware of what's on the top 10 list and paying extra attention to those vehicles when they're out on patrol.
And then back to this case, that this guy was charged. Were all the vehicles intended to go to Africa, when he was making the offers to these members of the public who came forward? Did they all say it was to Africa, or did they just say another country?
Generally, what we're finding is these vehicles do end up in East Africa ports. There's a market for them. They don't have the administrative checks and balances in place there. So, a vehicle isn't subject to the inspections to make sure that it's roadworthy. Basically, if it'll run and go down the road, there's value to it in these nations.
And then finally, did this, the accused, did he own that body shop, or was he just an employee?
No, he had a financial interest in the body shop, as we understand it. Again, he was somewhat obtuse around that piece, but he did have a financial interest in the body shop that we were dealing with.
We can call him an employee, though, of the body shop?
Yes.
You're saying most of the cases involved were him approaching, or most if not all, he was approaching the vehicle owners.
Right.
Was it for vehicles involved in crashes, or were there any that were involving say, the flood damage? Anything?
No, I don't. The flood damaged vehicles in this specific investigation, the people that came forward had been involved in a collision, and the vehicle that was intercepted was a collision vehicle. The flood damaged vehicles are a very different paradigm. They're branded as non-repairable, so they can't ever be registered to be put on the road again. Their only value is to be parted out and used to repair other vehicles. So I think that we will see a lot of those being bought at auction and ending up in other countries. Again, because of that lack of checks and balances and administrative structure that in these second and third world countries. So I think we will see a lot of those being shipped. Again, there's no offense in that. There's certainly an offense in rebranding a non-repairable vehicle, selling it and having it on the road in Canada or North America. But there's no offense in those being shipped to a place that doesn't have those constraints on those flood damaged vehicles.
So did anything strike you with these stats from the past year compared to past years? Anything you guys learned specifically? Or?
No, I think again, what we like to see is that decline, that long-term decline. And again, I think a lot of that speaks to an education piece and the car manufacturers updating and pursuing anti-theft technologies. So it's what we expected. And again, on a per capita basis, I think as a service, we're happy to see that decline, and hope that it continues.